So welcome back to another portfolio video. Happy New Year. I have been getting a lot of questions again over the holiday. I guess New Year, new me, and people trying to take their investment seriously and all that this year. So as always, the link to this Excel is in the description of this video, and all my referral links are there as well. I mentioned constantly I use Meristem and I use Bamboo to buy and trade all my stocks. And yeah, I guess it's never too late to start. So if this is you and you're just starting your journey, everything you need is actually in the description of this video. Now, without further ado, let's see what happened last year and how we can make it better this year. So starting off, if we look at last year, I think last year was one of those years where a lot of things just didn't go according to plan. Most importantly, I had to up and leave the country, so that scattered the entire thing, right? And it wasn't still a bad year at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, the portfolio earned 96,650 ish in dividends, which I thought was pretty decent enough. And I ended up having a total purchase cost of 2 million. We finished about 750k in the green, 37%. But yeah, not a bad year at all, actually, for being honest. But the thing I wanted to point out is this. So I ended up having a significant amount of money that I should have invested that I did not invest last year, right? And that's going to lead me into this year. So for 2026, what I'm planning to do this year, and again, this isn't financial advice, this is just what I am doing and why I'm doing it, right? I have decided to cut down my targets just a little bit to be a little bit more, what's the word now, a little bit more cautious, right, with investing. So for starters, let's see, agricultural sector, right? Again, I've been long Okomu and Presco and all that kind of stuff. So this year, I'm actually just going to set a target for myself of 500 units of Okomo and 600 units of Presco. Nothing breaking the bank this year, which brings me to about 650k ish for that throughout the year, roughly 50k a month. Possible, I don't know yet, but we'll see. Conglomerates, USCN, so I'm looking at just 3,000 units this year, again because they had a situation last year where they acquired Chi, so I'm guessing that the synergies will start this year. So let me just buy a bit more there. I'm going a bit heavier on financial services this year, mostly the banks, because the portfolio, I've been playing around with it a lot, buying and selling, which is not really what I do, but I guess just because of YouTube and trying to make content and stuff like that, I was a bit more active than I should have been. But going back to my personal principles of investing, I just buy and sit in for 3-4 year blocks, right? So in that line of thought is why I'm actually this year I'm going to focus on Access, Fidelity, GT, right? Mostly GT because I think I want to just really increase the unit of holding of this portfolio in GT Bank, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a bank that I truly believe in, right? So 20,000 units of GT Bank there, 10,000 of Fidelity, 10,000 of Access. So you'll notice this is actually the bulk of what I want to focus on this year, with GT being the most, right? For Jais Bank, again, alternative banks, I had 40,000 units last year. I think that was the only goal I completed last year. That and Cornerstone, more on that in a second. And because of those two, I will only be adding maybe 500 units of Jais Bank this year. Most likely when the dividends come, I just use it to buy again because I can't really be, what's the word? I don't really want to double down on that because I think I have a good enough position already. So I just have 5,500 units to complete. For Cornerstone this year, I'm not buying anything because I'm already at 101,000. Another thing that I completed last year in terms of goals, right? So you can see here 100%. So I'm not buying anything. That for Maybaker, my only health sector play, so I'm targeting at least 1,250 units this year to bring my total holding to 5,000. MTN. MTM, I'm only adding 128 because I mean it's good, it's a market leader and all that. I expect them to keep doing well, but like I said, this year I'm just trying to be a bit more realistic with what I'm trying to do, right, and see what is actually possible. NACO, same thing, aviation leader. I'm trying to only add 100 units this year. I am Computer Warehouse Group, my only ICT play. I'm trying to add 1,585. So you notice here I'm already close for these three. I'm actually close to completion, which is again another thing I'm trying to do because if you're thinking 4 or 5 years from now, if I'm able to build up a good holding in my banking sector, then I should be fine, right? So all these ones are just things that I have here because they will probably pay me dividends and I'll probably put the dividends back in, and it's a good base. And if I'm able to hit my GT deal of 15,900 units this year, then the rest of them will be possible. I should also mention tantalizers. I've been long on that for a while, but I've cut it down. So last year I was looking for 50,000 units, but this year I'm going to cut it down to 30,000. Again, this is probably the only thing in this portfolio that I do plan to sell. I have an exit price, but for the rest of them, I don't have any plans to sell, at least not till 2032, right? Which is probably the end of the current administration. Anyways, I'm trying to see if I can get back into oil and gas RDL because I missed it last year. I mentioned again because at that time, there was a lot going on during the summer and I just missed my entry point and all that kind of things. But this year is actually something I want to take seriously. And finally, Sterling Bank. So I'm going for Sterling Bank as my alternative financial play. Again, similar to Jai. So it's something that I believe in long term. I've done a lot of videos on that, right, in the past. So you can check those out. And hopefully this would be something that I think is achievable, right? Now, the crazy part though is this year I do want to see if I can track my investments on a monthly sort of thing. So to reach my goals this year, I need an average of 246,000, roughly 250K in the market every month. Now, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if that's going to be possible, but that's why we set goals, right? To see what we can and cannot do. For dividends, hopefully this should yield me a little bit better dividends than it did last year. I'm not sure actually, I'm hoping so, right? The only thing I do want to add to this also is people ask me a lot like, oh, how do you start investing? How can you do this? How can you do that? How do I make my first step? Blah, blah, blah. And what I'll say is this, while this isn't financial advice, if you use a structure like this where you have your rationales, right, and you set yourself targets for the year, I guess it's a lot easier to start, right? So what I would probably say is if you're just starting out and you have, for instance, you get this Excel and you start your journey, you could just pick out 3 sectors, right, and focus on, or maybe 2 sectors, or maybe even just 1 sector. So for instance, somebody could say, okay, I'll just go for a GT, an MTN, and maybe a Presco, right? That's a fairly balanced portfolio sector wise. And you can just then set yourself targets. So maybe even if it's only 5K you have a month, if you say, okay, for the first 4 months of the year, I'll focus on just GT Bank and you keep buying. And then the next 4 months of the year, you focus on maybe just Presco and you buy. And then the final 4 months, you focus on maybe MTN and you buy, right? What that does is it gives you a balanced enough position to start, right? And it's not only those three. You could also have a combination of maybe a Fidelity, a UACN, and an MTN. Again, 3 different sectors. Or you could have maybe a Maybaker, an Access, and a Presco, right? So different combinations of things that give you sort of balance. Again, not financial advice, but just sort of best practices that could help anybody just starting, right? And similarly, I think some people could just be like, you know what, I just want 1 sector. I'll double down this year. I don't have a lot to invest and we'll see where the end of the year takes me. That's also another thing you could possibly do. You could just say, you know what, this year I'm only going to buy one thing, and that would be maybe Jai's Bank or Access or something, right? You pick whatever it is, you set yourself a goal. If you only have like 5,000 naira to invest or something, that's like 60K in a year. So that could probably get you at today's market price. Let's see. The current market price of Access, that's 20 naira, right? So 60K a year will probably get you 3,000 units. That's not a bad start to build a long-term portfolio. But again, this year I'm sort of going back to my basics where I am not buying and selling anymore. I'm sitting in and trying to build quantity for the long term, right? And let's see. It might happen, it might not happen the way I've planned it. My total outstanding amount this year is 2.9 million between January and December. As I mentioned, that gives me a rough estimate of 246,000 naira per month. Is that possible? Is that not possible? I don't know. We'll see, right? But yeah, this is just, one of those goal, those people that have, what do you call it, like vision boards and blah 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 blah, right? So this is like my Nigerian portfolio vision board for this year. So let's see if I attain this. If I don't attain it, how off I would be. Last year, I think last year I had a 49% completion rate on average, which was already pretty bad. But this year, based on adjusting my goals, I'm already at a 65% completion as at January, whatever day this is, right? And it's a good enough start. So I just have to hit the rest of this, essentially 35% of portfolio by December. Easier said than done, but with discipline and planning and intentionality, let's see where the end of the year takes us. So again, on the final note, all my referral links are in the description, and if you want to get this template as well, you can also get that in the description. So let me know what you guys are also buying, holding, what sectors you think are good. I believe this year Dangote might go public with his refinery, so I believe that might be something that people might be considering. But for me, my oil and gas play is Aradel this year, so I'm not going to be buying any of the refinery if it does come, again because I have a plan. But let me know what you guys are buying, what sectors you're looking at, and if possible, how much are you looking to invest in the Nigerian stock market by the end of the year. We had a fantastic year last year with the stock market, and I see no reason why it won't continue this year, okay? And I always say it's never too late to start investing, okay? See you guys in the next one.